Hello everyone, Father Andrew here. I'm back from my vacation. I do plan to talk about the actual vacation more at some point, but first I want to do a quick little rant video. Specifically about this airline, Vueling, or however the fuck it's pronounced. Please, for the love of Amelia, do not fly with Vueling. For context, we booked a Vueling flight as they were a subsidiary of TUI, and that's who we actually booked through. But regardless, we will never be flying with these stingy con men again. And I'm actually going to go into a few reasons why. Firstly, the state of the actual planes themselves. The actual plane itself was fine, but the interior was an absolute fucking mess. On the actual flight towards Spain, the seats were all covered in remnants of food. Sweet wrappers, lots of pieces of loose bread, like very large crumbs, flakes from like the actual bread crust. It was all just generally filthy. The seats were also ridiculously uncomfortable and there was barely any legroom at all. Secondly was the onboard prices. These cheeky motherfuckers wanted £8 just for an in-flight sandwich and £4 for a can of Coke, which translated to the United States dollar, that is $10 for a sandwich and $5 for a can of soda, which are both fucking ridiculous. And if you want to use internet on the plane, you'd have to actually buy that, which costed well over £20, which translates to over 25 United States dollars, which is pretty fucking stupid. Thirdly, we have the actual landing. Both leaving to go to Spain and coming back from Spain, the actual landing was honestly not pleasant. It was quite rough and I honestly feel like the pilots may have been underexperienced. Fourthly, and technically fifthly, because I'm compacting both these points into one, actually getting on the plane to get back from Spain was a fucking nightmare. Everything went relatively fine until we got to the final bit where you actually get on the plane. Before we got on it, we had to stop and get something to eat because the family was hungry. But in the process of actually getting into line to get on the plane, for context, one of my family members was in a wheelchair because they can't walk very far due to having sustained a leg injury previously. But anyway, we get in line, we wait to get to the front, and then get this, the cheeky motherfuckers tell us to go all the way to the back because we didn't get in line first because of something to do with wheelchair priority. Like, unironically, the whole point's just boiled down to, well, I know you're in a wheelchair and you're supposed to be in the front of the line, but no, you're going in the back because you didn't get here first. I'm not joking, that is unironically what their point boils down to. So, we had to go all the way to the back of the line because they kept refusing us disabled access, wait to board the plane, which made us the last ones to get on, but then they hauled us up because despite the fact our hand luggage was under the 10 kilogram weight limit, and that applies to all three of the very small suitcases we had, like they were small carry-on luggage bags, these cheeky motherfuckers say it's the wrong type of bag, refuse to elaborate, and basically say, well, you have to pay £60 for each one of these to get them on the plane because they are somehow overweight despite being under the 10 kilogram weight limit, which I don't fucking understand how that works at all, because something that weighs less than 10 kilograms can't logically fucking surpass the 10 kilogram limit. And this isn't like a net weight thing either, this is, as I said, per case. Each case was less than 10 kilograms, so I don't fucking know. Anyway, whatever. We had to pay 60 quid for each of these luggage, which comes to £180. And for the Americans in the audience, that's $227. Even worse, that carry-on luggage had all of our like knickknacks and like gifts we had purchased from Spain, along with clothing and other things. So fundamentally, they were holding stuff that was rightfully our property hostage, despite the fact that we blatantly didn't do anything wrong. So we were forced to pay, just about got on the plane literally just before it planned to start leaving, sat down and flew back home, which itself was also incredibly fucking annoying, for several reasons. The aforementioned uncomfortable seats, which were actually nowhere near as dirty as the previous flight, but were still generally dirty to touch, you could still feel crumbs. The uncomfortable seat made it near impossible to sleep, and if anything, sleeping was made outright impossible, due to the abundant number of younglings who honestly sounded like they had pneumonia. I could hear the mucus rattling around on their chests every time they coughed, and it was nasty. And yes, I know that's something the airline can't control, but it's just made the experience even worse. Anyway, this has been my rant on Vueling. Fuck them, they're a bunch of stingy con men who cut corners and will try and get any dosh out of you any way they can and are just completely blatant in that. I was about to actually end my rant here, but I want to also mention, I think we paid in pounds, but it might have been euros. Even then, it's still fucking ridiculous and they're a bunch of fucking con artists. Fuck Vueling, I will never be flying with them again. Anyway, that's the end of the rant video. See you around. Goddamn, obligatory Discord plug in the description. I'm too tired to even bother. Whatever. Good night.